what do you think they're going to do with Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker III?
I know. That's going to be the big one. The running back market's so crazy, and I need to look at where they are on their salary cap because that's something I have not done, and I'll try to look that up, and maybe you could help me while we're sitting here doing this. But I feel like with a player like him, you got Cooper Kupp, who's on the downslope of his career, as we know, still good, still can add value. Rashid Shaheed, they got to sign him too, and he's not going to be like cheap. He's not going to be top of the market receiver money, but they're going to have to pay him. The way the running back market is and where Kenneth Walker is in his career, you would think they could get him for nothing crazy, right? You know, something north of $12 million a year, something of that range. They play behind the running game. They want to play that style of football. He is one of the more special guys in the sport and has been for a while and now has a team around him to kind of show that and help them out. So I would think with what Mike McDonald wants and now with a new OC, that Kenneth Walker would be a pretty high priority to get it done, to continue to play the way we want to play and then keep that pressure off our new OC and our quarterback.
They've got the cap space, 67 to 73 million.
They're perfect.
Is the number that I see.
Right.
And hey, if you're talking about $12 million on a long-term deal with Kenneth Walker, and of course the guarantees are going to become part of the equation as well, franchise tag's around $14 million. That has to at least be a consideration if they think somebody out there is going to be making him a gigantic offer. And one of the things I've noticed in recent years, when free agency first became a thing with the salary cap and the Cowboys had a dynasty, it felt like there was almost a concerted effort by other teams to diminish the Cowboys by signing their guys away whenever they could.
Yeah, right.
And with the Chiefs, like, I remember when Chris Jones was due to become a free agent, I never got the sense that anyone out there was like, ooh, this is our chance to stick it to the Chiefs and really hurt them,
right,
and take some steam out of the dynasty by getting their best defensive player. That never seemed like it was happening. So you get a guy who's Super Bowl MVP, and I think back to Larry Brown.
Yeah.
After he was the MVP for the Cowboys in Super Bowl 30. The
Ken Norton
safety,
Jr.?
was it Dexter Jackson? The safety Dexter Jackson, remember?
Dexter,
he was the Bucs.
Right.
He was the Super Bowl MVP, and somebody overpaid him. I think it was the Bengals that may have overpaid him.
I think you're right.
But you've got this opportunity now to go in and take away the guy who was the key player offensively down the stretch for the Seattle Seahawks. You can disrupt them. You can force them to go find somebody else or hope that Zach Charbonnet is going to recover fully from his ACL. You can throw a wrench into things. But still, if you're the Seahawks, here's the problem. Are we going to allocate significant money to a position where the supply outweighs the demand and where you're one injury away from wasting all of that cap space on someone who is not going to ultimately help you? And what they went through 20 years ago, Chris, after they made it to the Super Bowl and Shaun Alexander was the MVP, he was due for a new contract.
Yep.
They had to give it to him because everybody had their 37 jerseys. And 1 year into it, they couldn't wait to get away from it.
Yeah, no. And I get that. And I think we're at a little bit of a different spot here where Sean Taylor had a lot of wear and tear on his body at that point. A lot of carries between Alabama and the way the Seattle Seahawks played. Kenneth Walker doesn't have that problem. You know, they've shared a lot. He's been the starting running back, but Zach Charbonnet has been it. Right? So it hasn't been like, oh, he's just a workhorse bell cow, we're going to grind him into the ground type of career so far for Kenneth Walker. And where Kenneth Walker is special, as we saw, we didn't see in the Super Bowl, but we saw in a whole lot of other games, he can score from anytime, anywhere. The Super Bowl, we just got to see a lot of great 10 and 8 and 15-yard runs. But throughout the year, we saw 80 and we saw 70 and we saw 40 and 30. I mean, he's that caliber of football player. And they don't grow on trees all the time. And so that's where it'll be interesting to see where he goes, right? We look at the running back market. You know, I threw out $12 million because that's a baseline, I think, low for where he should get. James Cook is making $11.5. James Cook's awesome. His contract's low. I don't know what else to say. It's low. But that is what it is. Josh Jacobs is at 12. Kamara's at 12.2. Jonathan Taylor's at 14. Right? So, I mean, he deserves to be up there in that Jonathan Taylor conversation. That's for sure. Derrick Henry, McCaffrey, Saquon, they're kind of unicorns. They're being paid for how awesome they are and how awesome they were and the name and all of that. So I don't think he's going to go and get to that level. But could I see him around Jonathan Taylor? Yes, certainly. And I think he's deserving that. And then here's the other thing I want to say to you, Mike, and hear me out on this one if you think. Because I was talking this about my dad the other day, and we've had this conversation as it pertains to the Detroit Lions, right? There's something here now again, right? Where I don't know. And me and my dad had this conversation about the Super Bowl where you go, would the running game and all of that been that good if they were trying to split carries in the Super Bowl, right? Would they have been?
Right.
I think people underestimate that running backs need to get in a groove and feel the game and feel the cuts and, the linebackers are playing like this. And that gets lost in this era of we're going to have this revolving wheel at the running back position. And I do think there's some nuance there about, having a guy and getting him in the rhythm of the football game. And you saw that from Kenneth Walker in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. And, I do think there's some value and some rethinking some teams have to do because you're seeing the top running teams are kind of going, hey, screw the running back by committee thing. We got one guy, and we're going to ride him, and that's what we're going to do. And so it's kind of funny, and I think Seattle might have learned that lesson in these playoffs here.
Yeah, not by choice, by necessity,
right.
Zach Charbonnet injured.
Right.
But, we've talked about this before. You get to the fourth quarter, and especially if you're kind of a bruising tailback, the other team wants to throw in the towel. They've had enough.
Yeah.
And also, it's like anything else. The more you do it in that moment, the more comfortable you get. He had that one great play where he was compared to Le'Veon Bell by Chris Collinsworth. He slowed down and waited and waited, and then the hole materialized, and he ran through it. I mean, if you're splitting carries, are you going to be able to have that kind of patience?
That's
you're going to have a greater urgency to do everything you can with every opportunity you get.
Right.
You
I gotta
never
go,
settle
go,
into
go.
this thing where this is this is my day, this is my time. I'm all they have. I'm going to be patient.
Yeah.
I'm not going to freak out every time I have the ball and try to score a touchdown with every single opportunity. But the other side of it. He had 1,050 yards as a rookie in 2022, 905 in 23, 573 in 11 games in 2024. That was when we started to think that maybe it's going the wrong way for him.
Right.
This year he rebounds with 1,027, but down the stretch in the postseason was where he was really special because they needed him and he answered the bell. But they're gonna have to strike that balance, and it's hard to do because you got to rip the name off the back of the jersey. You have to assess this player in relation to the alternatives. And the Seahawks know how to negotiate good contracts. They negotiated a good contract with Sam Darnold last year, but a lot of it depends upon whether or not somebody's going to show up and overpay him. And if he does, they need to say, "Hey, Ken, we're not going to try to talk you out of this. Go get your money."
Yeah.
If somebody else wants to pay you 15, 16, 17 million a year to go be their featured back, go do it. Thank you for winning the Super Bowl. Congratulations on being the MVP. Go get your money. We'll find somebody else. But it's not going to be easy because, again, and I can't believe it's been 20 years. It's been 20 years since they had to do the Sean Alexander contract, and in the aftermath of that, there was the whole Steve Hutchinson poison pill thing with the Vikings.
Oh, yeah,
and then the Seahawks did it to the Vikings when Nate Burleson. This is the 20-year anniversary.
Right.
The 20-year anniversary of the poison pill conundrum for the NFL, the Seahawks, and the Vikings.
Oh, I know. I forgot about that. That was a big topic at the time with the agents finding little loopholes and how to write certain language in a contract so the other team couldn't match it in certain scenarios. So, yeah, that was cool, and it will be interesting. You're right, like you said, because there are some teams out there that, you look at and go, man, they get a running back, and you go, whoa, that could change their football team. And I think that the value of the running back is back on the radar screen with teams in the NFL. The league is going a little bit towards let's get underneath the center, let's run the ball, let's play action pass. It's been going that way for a few years. It's getting away from the spread. And I think everybody has realized with these top running backs, like, man, hey, listen, they might not last all that long, but when they are good and going, it's hard to replace the production the top running backs have. Again, the top ones, like we've talked about, not only can do a lot of the meat and potatoes work, but they can make plays and score anytime anytime, anywhere. And there's just not a lot of guys in the sport that you can say that about. So when you do have that, there's great value. And we're seeing a lot of the top teams do have those type of guys.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.